Welcome back, everybody. This lesson is the Korean grammar pattern for guna, gun, and gunyo. It means, oh, I didn't realize. This entire lesson is pulled from howtostudykorean.com. It's a fantastic resource that I use all the time. In this lesson, you'll learn how to add guna, gun, or gunyo to the end of a sentence. This grammatical form is often said when one realizes a new fact or piece of information. Allow me to break it down more than that. Let's get started. Oh, I didn't realize that. Guna, gun, or gunyo. Now, creating a direct English translation for guna, gun, or gunyo is quite difficult. Instead, it's better to understand its usage and the subsequent meaning and feeling that creates. Regardless of whether or not it attaches to a verb, adjective, or ida, these endings are added to the end of a sentence that the speaker just came to realize. When adding this to an adjective or ida, guna, gun, or gunyo are attached directly to the stem of the adjective, or attached to e in the case of ida. For example, 과학 선생님이구나. Let me explain when and why this phrase would be used. As I stated earlier, guna, gun, or gunyo are added to the end of a sentence when the speaker just came to realize. In effect, the speaker is showing a bit of surprise at this newly discovered information. A speaker would use one of these endings at the end of a sentence that he or she did not know before. In this situation, the speaker would have just discovered that this person is a science teacher. For example, that person isn't an English teacher? 그 사람은 그냥 영어 회화 선생님이 아니야? No, originally he was an English teacher, but now he's a science teacher. 원래 영어 회화 선생님인데 지금 과학 선생님이야. Really? I didn't realize he was a science teacher. 진짜? 과학 선생님이구나. Let's look at another example, this time using an adjective. Imagine you're going to go fishing for the first time. You go to the store to buy supplies and you see the price of fishing line. You're surprised because you didn't realize the fishing line was that expensive. In this case, you can say the following. 낚싯줄이 이렇게 비싸구나. I didn't realize that this fishing line was that expensive. Below are some more examples. I'm not going to read through all of them, but I'll cherry pick a few. As you may have guessed, guna and gun are used in informal situations, whereas gunyo, that informal polite yo, is attached for formal situations. Also, guna is very common in conversation, much more common than gun. However, these days younger people are using gun when chatting on the internet or in their phones. And unless something is quoted, like if you see a line quoted where someone's using gunyo or guna or gun, you're not going to see this in a written format, obviously. It's something known as guoche. Guoche. That's the written form. Spoken form. All right. So we have 해군의 대령이군요. I didn't realize you were a general in the Navy. Note here that it's 해군에, like in the Navy. 이 시험이 지필 시험이구나. I didn't realize this exam is a pen and paper exam. G for paper, pill for pen. Later on, we'll go through all the vocab that's in here at the end of the video. I just didn't want to front load it at the front. And say, I didn't realize that the surface of this rock was so soft. 이 돌의 표면이 아주 부드럽구나. So you'll notice here that the 부드럽다 is attached directly to the guna. So 부드럽구나. I didn't realize that obesity was such a problem in America. 미국에서 비만이 아주 큰 문제이구나. See, so you have this noun here, and then 이구나. Nice and natural. Just add that e at the end and put guna directly following that. I didn't realize there was no shelf to put your bag on the subway. 이 전철에 가방을 올려놓을 수 있는 선반이 없군. So again, it's missing that yo, so we can assume that either the person's just kind of talking to themselves or they're just talking to a friend. Let's see. So you've learned many examples where ita and 없다, although adjectives, are treated like verbs when adding some grammatical principle. Notice that when adding guna, gun, or gunyo, you treat ita and 없다 like adjectives. Also notice that e and ga is used on the subject of these sentences. In a different lesson, the person who wrote this indicated that one of the purposes of e and ga is to denote the subject of a sentence that the speaker just realizes or is experiencing. The nature of the sentences using guna, gun, or gunyo make it more natural to use I or ga, so that's a good thing to remember. In a different lesson, you learned about kuratta, which is an adjective, and the many ways it can adapt to grammatical principles. Guna, gun, or gunyo are commonly added to kuratta. You may have heard kurakunyo, or kurakun, or kurakuna. This construction is often used when the speaker wants to refer to the previous situation and say, oh, I didn't realize that. For example, where did that friend go? 그 친구가 어디 갔어? He was a little uncomfortable here, so he went home. 여기가 좀 불안해서 집에 갔어. 그렇군, or 그렇구나. Oh, I didn't realize that. When adding guna, gun, or gunyo to a verb, nun should be placed between it and the verb. So remember, verb requires nun. Oh, I didn't realize that you didn't know the password either. 너도 암호를 모르는구나. Oh, I didn't realize that the dog doesn't like to be pet. 강아지가 쓰다듬는 것을 싫어하는구나. This is a tricky verb we'll go over later. 쓰다듬다, to pet. In a pinch, you can just use 만지다 as well. Okay, also, when adding this to a verb, adjective, or ida in the past tense, you can attach guna, gun, or gunyo to at or ut. For example, oh, I didn't realize you already ate. 벌써 먹었구나. Note that ut there. Or, oh, I didn't realize that yesterday was your birthday. 어제 생일이었구나. Again, that ut because it's past tense. Here we have 당황스럽다, to be embarrassed. 선생님도 그때 아주 당황스러웠구나. So as you can see, pretty simple when you're trying to put it in the past tense. You just drop that ut or at. So as we talked about earlier, guna, gun, or gunyo are used when one realizes something. Inherently, one usually realizes something about a fact that has already happened or is currently happening. However, it's also possible to add guna, gun, or gunyo to a subject or to a sentence conjugated to future tense, believe it or not. This would most commonly be done if one realizes that something will be the case. The realization still happens in the present tense, because you're realizing it as you're talking, but the event will happen in the future. These realizations of future events are typically guesses, and therefore you would most commonly see getta instead of 을 것이다, because getta is a little bit more speculative, whereas 을 것이다 is like a more definitive that something will happen. For example, if you realized, oh, we probably won't have money, you would say 돈이 없겠구나. You didn't know that prior, but now you've realized in the future, I will not have money. Or, oh, you'll probably be embarrassed. So if you're talking to a friend that won't have money and you're realizing that that friend will probably be embarrassed if they have to be put in a spot to spend money, you can say, 당황스럽겠구나. So that's being considerate and having some 눈치. Lastly, sentences using guna, gun, or gunyo have a feeling that the speaker is speaking to him or herself. This self-talking isn't really part of the conversation. The speaker's just kind of mumbling to I didn't realize. The question is then, if that were the case, why would we need to use gunyo? Why would we need to use polite speech if this form is used to talk to oneself? Well, you won't see this in any other grammar book, because this is the writer's personal opinion. I have been exposed to this form in Korean conversation, books, Korean tests, other writings, etc., and I have the feeling that sentences before guna, gun, or gunyo are mostly said to oneself. However, within one sentence, 90% of that feeling is the speaker speaking to himself. The remaining 10% is the speaker wanting to show the listener that he or she is surprised about that fact. Therefore, while technically self-speech, a part of the function of this sentence is to show the listener that the speaker is surprised. This is the reason why we should use honorifics if the situation calls for it. If you're speaking to somebody who deserves high respect, of course. If you're just speaking to an underling or a minion, obviously you don't need to put the yo on the end of it. But it's good to remember that with guna, gun, or gunyo, it's a 90-10 kind of concept that goes with it, as opposed to neo, which we'll learn about in the next one, which is more of a 60-40. And if you had any questions about the vocabulary that we went over in this lesson. You can pause it here and check this out. These all should be pretty common to you. We have amho here. They said secret code, but amho hwa dweda is to be encrypted. So all of these are just a kind of a rough translation of it. Here we have the nouns. So pause if you want to check these out. And then here's the verbs, adjectives, and other words, adverbs and other words. The two I wanted to bring attention to were this men. You may have heard men kutte or men chome. It just means, I think begging is a typo here, at the very beginning and start or finish. So men kutte would be at the very end, like at the very end of a road or a race. Men chome can be at the very start. And you'll see some different use cases for it. And then this one here you may have heard, 얼른. So it's an adverb placed in sentences where the speaker wants the listener to do something quickly. The two places that I've heard this the most are 얼른, pardon my reels, 얼른 가 and 얼른 자. So this one would be just go. If you're just telling somebody, just get out of here, go. Like if they're dragging out a long goodbye and you just want to say, okay, good seeing you, just go, right? And then here is if you're talking to a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something and you want to just say, all right, just go to sleep now, go, not in a mean way, just we're all done, go to sleep. 얼른 자 is you can also say that to friends. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend or girlfriend. But all right, so not to belabor it too much. I didn't realize that. Guna, gun, or gunyo. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.